Hi, this is Lee Langdon. Today on the Young Adult World podcast, we are breaking new ground, guys. I have invited one of our Memorial Road young adults, Cassie Sikes, to come host this episode. Cassie interviews, well, I'll let her tell you about who she interviews. But if you haven't yet heard Cassie's story, be sure to go back to Season 1, Episode 3, and listen to our conversation after you listen to this episode. Okay, guys, get ready for some really great stuff. Welcome to Season 2, Episode 11. Welcome to the Young Adult World podcast.
Hello, and welcome to the Young Adult World podcast. My name is Cassie Sikes. I'm a member at the Memorial Road Church of Christ, and I attend the Dwell class. And today, I have the honor of interviewing my friend, Chelcie Holloway. Chelcie, thank you so much for joining us today. Welcome. How are you doing?
Good. Glad to be here.
So let's go ahead and go back to the beginning. Where are you from? Where were you born?
So I am from North Platte, Nebraska. I would say little town, but not like York little town, which is where you're from. But it is small, west side of Nebraska. Not a whole lot of to do. Just like when I say we would drive the ones for fun, that basically is like the main roads. It just goes one way and you go around and you go the other way. So I went to a school, actually, like my high school was 30 minutes from North Platte, smaller. So I graduated with a class of 35 students. 35. Did you have extracurriculars and sports and stuff like that growing up? Like what were you into, I guess? Absolutely. I basically dabbled in everything at some point in my life. My mom and aunt were really big into softball, so I played softball a lot growing up. They actually were my coaches for a while, so from like t-ball up, there was lots of family integration into that where they would be my coaches, and then my aunt still coaches with my cousin. I did basketball. In high school, I did competitive speech and competitive theater, drama, things like that. And then I got into tennis in high school, which is probably my favorite sport, and kind of everything else fell off a little bit there because I wanted to focus on that.
Yeah, that is one of the benefits of a small town, for sure. Because York, I mean, it was bigger where I grew up, but I did feel like you can do anything you want. I mean, any activity you want to be involved in, you can go out for. Okay, so I want to touch back, though, on what you said about your parents sometimes being involved in coaching or relatives being involved in coaching. What was that like to have that dynamic in sports?
So I love my family, but they are characters. And if you know me, I am the complete opposite of my family in multiple aspects. My family is very loud and very out there. Like when my aunt and my mom coached one of my softball games, they were very competitive, so much that like my aunt broke my mom's arm with a baseball or with a Barbie doll, not a baseball bat, with a Barbie doll. Like, so that's the dynamic in my mom's side of my family. And so crazy.
Yeah.
I wouldn't say there was pressure on like, okay, you've got to do good. You've got to, like, obviously they wanted me to do well, but it was more so of this, like, them as coaches. It was like, not specifically singling me out, but it was like them as coaches. They're like, we've got to do really good. Like, you know, and so it was fun, but it was just also kind of intense.
So tell me a little bit about what family was like for you growing up. Because I know that that's a big part of your story.
Yeah.
And what you were saying earlier about your family being loud, I also think they're very fun. I've met some of your family members. Very fun. But what was that like growing up?
I didn't grow up in a Christian family. Not from a Christian household, still am not really from a Christian household. And while I love my family, there were dynamics growing up that were not always great. I always kind of, I guess when people always ask me that question, it's like, I didn't have the worst childhood growing up, but I didn't have the greatest childhood growing up either. I don't know my biological father. He left when I was, I think 2. And so I kind of had to wrestle with that of just like this feeling of this person who, shares half of your DNA and they can just willingly walk away from your life. Kind of wrestle with that for a long time in my life. And thankfully, if you ever hear me talk about my dad, he is one of the best people in the world. He came into my life when I was 3, and just through thick and thin, I don't think I would be where I am without him. He is just one of the most amazing men ever. My mom and a lot of the family on my mom's side wrestles and continues to wrestle with addiction. And so when my mom and dad first got married, they were really young. My mom had me when she was 20. My dad came in to my life when I was 3. And so everything was kind of good there for a little bit, but they were young and my mom was struggling with a lot of things. And then they, had my sweet baby brother, and there was it was an uncomfortable dynamic, I would say. There was a lot of yelling and unhappiness, and they ultimately got divorced, and that led to a very dark part of my life where we were just having to bounce from house to house. Unfortunately, my dad couldn't get custody of me because he wasn't able to actually adopt me. And so there was instances where my brother and I were, staying with my mom. My mom would, with her, when she remarried, he was an abusive husband. There were a lot of nights where I didn't know if my mom was alive or dead, where it was just me and my brother. There's some good aspects to that. There's beauty in that. Like, my brother and I have a really, really close relationship. I think part of that is because of what we went through, and just being able to rely on one another through that. And then it also made me have a really good relationship with my grandma when my mom could no longer take care of me and my brother was living with my dad. I got to live with her, and she raised me and was a second mom, and she just played a huge role in my life. And I mean, she was the reason I was able to go to college. I honestly, she was a mom when there was no other, when my mom was not able to step into that lane. So at this point, like, I wasn't really a Christian at some of that aspect of my life. And then I did have a friend, start invite me to church, and wrestling with this idea of why me, as a new Christian and as someone who's trying to figure out like who God is, and going through trauma that, a child shouldn't have to go through. Obviously now I can look back and be like, wow, like, look at all these things that he has brought me through. And the reason that I'm here today is it's a testament to him. And that's why I'm so always willing to share my testimony, is because glory to him through everything, right? Like, just, I will tell you everything you want to know, because I'm on the other side of that because of everything that he's done for me. So my family, like, my mom is so strong. She's been sober for 13 years now. Wow. And she still does not believe in God. None of my family is really walking with the Lord, but I know he's working on her, and so just trying to be that light for them.
Are there ways, on that note, that you feel like your experience in life and these struggles that you have had to go through, have they in any way positively impacted your faith, or how you've been able to maybe be an encouragement to other people? There
have been so many points in my life where, in the thick of it, like, even at small group last night, we were, talking about, this concept of doubting God or wrestling with God. And I just remember this time in my life where I just was having a really hard time thinking, or kind of just this idea of all of, my friends who are Christians, they're going to have family. Like, there's just, and it's never easy to lose family members. I know, no matter if you're a Christian or if you're not, that it is hard to lose someone that you love. Letting me be vulnerable in moments where I'm like, I don't know if I'm doing enough, am I being enough of a light to my family? Am I doing enough to really get them to know Jesus? I go out to Nebraska Youth Camp, which is a summer camp, and I teach a girls class, which has been a huge blessing to me. And Ellie Johnson also goes with me. That's where I think wrestled with God the most, my friends started inviting me out there, and that's kind of where I got to know Jesus and really build my own foundation with the Lord and what that kind of looked like. And so now I just feel so blessed to get to go out there and teach those girls, and I learned so much from them as well. But so I was giving a campfire talk, I think a year or two ago, about, again, my testimony, and I was talking to my mom. Before she got sober, there was a point one night where she, was in some bathroom. She doesn't remember where she was at, and she was just ready to give up. Just completely ready to give up. And she told me that something told her to stand up and go home to her kids. I know 100% that was the Lord answering my prayer. 100%. What's funny is, during those prayers I was praying years and years ago, I didn't really feel like there was an answer, because I didn't see those answers. And so my mom tells me this like a year or two ago, and she had never told me that before. And I was like, Mom, I 100% believe that was God answering my prayer. Even in of itself is just planting a seed in my mom's, heart. She came down to visit, and she walked out of service that day after a message that Phil was talking about. And she was like, I would love to have a conversation with him someday. And wow. I just am like, all right, I could make that happen.
Yeah.
So Phil, if you're listening to this, we've never actually met, but we've emailed, and we may have to make that happen. So just little moments like that where I don't know if there's like big aha moments, like obviously me coming to my faith, being baptized, but I'm always looking for like little nuggets of just my family, hopefully one step closer.
Yeah. So one other thing I kind of want to touch on that I think might have started when you were a kid, but I'm not totally sure, is talking about your health journey.
I have an autoimmune disease, so I have Crohn's disease, and also very open about that, even though, some people are like, oh, that's a taboo subject. But I'm like, no, it's not really. Around that time, I also got diagnosed with major depressive disorder and anxiety disorder along that same time, which obviously that came with just the trauma in my childhood. But a lot of that also plays a role in like just these medical things that I get anxious about or I don't have the answers to. And that all kind of culminated in 2019. Like I started getting really sick in college. It was just test after test trying to figure out like, okay, what is going on? And a downside to not knowing my biological father's side is the medical aspect of that. Yeah. And so I was doing all the tests, all the not fun tests. And I was diagnosed it was 2013 officially, but I didn't have health insurance, which came to 2019. At that point I had health insurance and started this medication that I'm now on. So it's, I get infusions every 8 weeks, which are really good. They seem to be doing their job. 2 abdominal surgeries, well, three abdominal surgeries.
Who's counting?
Who's counting? And, one of them was right after I moved down to Oklahoma. Like I had one right before I moved down here. And then I had another one right after I moved down here. I really think it's a God thing because I can look back on just, pinnacle moments in my life. One of my best friends, she's been in my life since I was a kindergartner. Like we met in kindergarten. I've learned a lot through friendships about what it means to like, I guess kind of like what you said, cultivate those relationships. And I have a different idea of what it means to be a friend than I did in like elementary school and high school. And that is, it takes work. It's not always going to be easy. And I think something that can maybe be a little scary is you're going to have hard conversations. And they're uncomfortable.
Yeah.
But if you really care about that friendship and you really want it to work, you have to be honest and have the uncomfortable conversation.
It is inspiring. I think it's something to really try and, I don't want to say achieve in life, but something to strive for is having those close community relationships. I do want to talk a little bit about what your journey looked like coming to Oklahoma. You went to college in Nebraska, yes?
Yep.
York.
Elementary education major from York, which I am not using at the moment.
Had you planned to use it?
I did.
Okay.
Yeah, so I actually taught in a one-room schoolhouse my first year. After I graduated, which if you're a teacher, you know that your first year out of college is hard. Well, then I decided to challenge myself, like, let's go and teach at a one-room schoolhouse in my hometown. I was teaching at a small Christian school. Obviously, it was amazing. I loved that, but it was a lot. I honestly was doing so many lesson plans. I got burnt out really quick. And so it was an experience, and I'm very grateful for that. Did a complete 180 and substitute taught in Omaha, Nebraska in inner city schools for a year, which was a different change and a different experience, and challenged myself in a whole lot of ways there. And but at that time, my health got a lot worse around that time. And so I actually wasn't able to like keep a full-time job. And so my sweet friends at York asked if I wanted to come work for them, and it allowed some more flexibility. And so that's how I ended up in higher education, which I was like, this is amazing. I'm not technically using my elementary education degree, but it's still an education, which I am so passionate about as a first-gen college student. Like, I just have a heart for it, and launched me into where I am now today.
What was your decision-making process, or what went through your mind as you were contemplating moving to Oklahoma? And what was the job even that you were contemplating moving here for?
So I had always had in my head, obviously with my childhood and things like that, at one point I was like, I've got to get out of Nebraska. I've got to get far away from everything. As I was getting older, and especially like later in my college life, I was starting to grow a relationship with my mom some more. And so it was like, okay, I don't really need to like go super far away, because I'm starting to build a relationship with my mom. Obviously, I love my dad. My dad stuck around through all of that. And again, I can't do it on my dad enough. But so I still was like, I got to get out of Nebraska though. Like, that is a goal that I always had. I wanted to challenge myself. And so I have friends in Colorado, and I knew you in Oklahoma, and I would say we were friends, but we were, I wouldn't say we were like super close. Like, we would hang out occasionally, but I was like, okay, let me just apply to like Oklahoma. It's a good distance. I'm a Midwestern girl through and through. I was like, it would be a good drivable distance if I needed to go back home to Nebraska or something. And so I was applying to both of those places, and a job came across at Oklahoma Christian University for a program that I now still work for. And it just spoke to me because it was working for a non-traditional student, and students who previously probably or never would have thought about getting a degree from a private Christian institution. And as someone who didn't grow up a Christian at one point in my life, I never would have thought that I would have went to York College. I applied, and shout out to OC, I love you. I did not hear back for a while, and so I didn't think I got the job. And then I think it was it December of 2020? Yeah, I think it was December of 2020.
Okay.
I got a call because it was COVID, and
yes, that's okay.
Yep. And they were like, hey, can you come in for an interview tomorrow? And I was like, I am in Nebraska. I was like, but I would love to interview. Thankfully it was, I don't know if we would ever say thankfully it was COVID, but we at that point had gotten used to virtual interviews. And so I was like, is that an option? Like, can we do a Google interview? And so they set that up, and then did an interview, and like by that Friday they had offered me the job. And so I was like, can I let you know? I don't even remember how, like, because I know I texted you like after the interview. Yeah. And so it happened pretty quick after that, like, because I was like, I didn't hear for a while, and then it was like bam, bam, bam. And then I moved part of my stuff down at Thanksgiving because I accepted the job. I was like, this seems great. And then I started my job December 7th, which is when I officially call my move-in date for Oklahoma, is December of 2020. It was hard, I'm not gonna lie. And I think you can attest to this. I think that first year I was like, I'm not making it. Like, I'm moving back to Nebraska. Like,
I think we both grew a lot in that first year.
I was like, this is not working. I'm miserable. Like, I can't do this. This is not the place for me. I do think when I moved out, also that was like being on my own for the first time, I think was kind of like an eye opener, but also that was a big step, you know, of just like getting your own place, living on your own. I think a lot of growth comes with that. And I had to rely on myself, but also just a little more on God, I guess. A lot of downtime, you know, with me and the Lord, like, you know, filling in the spaces. And I think that was kind of the big shift. I was like, oh, wait, I can do this. Like, I actually have this.
And I mean, I know I definitely saw a big shift just in how you started to like embrace the community here, I think. I mean, like the Oklahoma community, but also just at Memorial Road.
Yeah.
Like once you started making it your own and, you know, really making your own friendships and making your own way, like there was just this confidence about you. Yeah. And I'm so glad. Let's talk a little bit more about OC, because you started in that position. I feel like you've been promoted a lot.
Yeah, so when I applied, I think my title was student advocate. So I was in the Success Center, basically taking phone calls, answering tickets, just kind of helping students through the process. I was the first hire outside of the dean, and so it was just a 2-man group there for what was called New College. Now we're called the College of Outreach and Innovation, or COI. And then it kind of got moved up, and I was in charge of some concurrent admissions. And then I was an enrollment, what was it called? Like enrollment specialist. And then I was a program mentor last, and now my official title is Director of Online Student Advising for the College of Outreach and Innovation. Essentially, I have a team of advisors and online tutors who report to me, and we are in charge of our online student success for our non-traditional students.
You also are our professor, yes?
Yes, I am adjunct faculty.
So cool.
So I teach part-time.
One part of your experience here at Memorial Road, especially, that I don't think I know as much about, is how you have gotten connected to other women at Memorial Road. You've done Heartfelt,
yes,
correct?
Oh my goodness, yes.
Yeah. Do you want to talk a little bit about that and what those ladies mean to you?
Yeah. I am so thankful. Memorial Road's huge, especially from someone who, when I was first introduced to the church, I think my home congregation averaged 50. And then obviously in York, it was...
I think 300-ish.
Yeah, so slowly climbing up. And then, you know, I come to Oklahoma and it's like in the thousands, 2,000?
Yeah, something like that.
Something like that. It's a little intimidating. And so at first, it was a little, I was like, I don't know if I can do this, but just Memorial Road is so good. If you take the chance and you really put yourself out there, they give you opportunities to connect. And I think the women's ministry is just, they do an amazing job at that, of just giving us opportunities to do that. And Heartfelt is one of those where I was like, this is so outside my comfort zone because, again, I'm a little bit of an introvert. In social situations, I would say I'm a little awkward. It is who I am, and I can embrace it. But I signed up. I didn't really know what it was about or what it was kind of going to look like. And my first group, I was just like, okay. And, you know, it was like meeting for dinners. We played pickleball one night, and I have just never really, I don't even know what, like, being able to meet with a group of women from different, like, walks in a church. And obviously, like, I've been a part of different church now for, you know, throughout my life, but just being so intentional about setting monthly meetings has been huge. And kind of like I said, previously, life happens, but I still meet with my first heartfelt group from years ago monthly. Like, it gets a little wonky in the summer or with travel, but they have been with me for so long now. It's like a second family. I think as someone who not growing up in the church, and again, I love my mom, but I feel like there's some instances where I miss like Christian motherly mentor type of figure.
Sure.
And so just being able to have that kind of mentor in my life now I have multiple, it's just been really, really fulfilling.
I want to end with 2 silly questions.
Let's
just for fun. We haven't even got to talk about how stylish you are and all these things. But get to know Chelcie in person, and then you will learn so many more cool things about her. Your music, how much you love that. Okay, so first kind of random question. I feel like you know food here. I feel like you've been to a lot of cool restaurants. Do you have like a favorite OKC restaurant?
Okay, so I've only been once to this one, but it is so good, and I plan to go back. It's a new one that I just found. I went for my birthday. It's called Birdie's. It is so good. If you like Brussels sprouts, which that sounds like so, like, I don't know. It's so out of left field. Sorry. Keep going. They have the best Brussels sprouts I have ever had in my life. Even if you don't like Brussels sprouts, I think you would like these. But no, it's phenomenal. He's been on the Food Channel. The chef has. Okay. So check out Birdie's. Birdie's sponsor me.
Birdie's. Okay. And then last question. If you could spend one day with anyone, and we're going to say, actually, not with Jesus. That's... obviously, you would have said that.
Yeah.
Other than that, if you could spend a full day with anyone, dead or alive, who would it be?
Okay, my serious answer would be my grandma, who passed away in 2019. I would love to just have another day with her, especially in Oklahoma. She just is one of my favorite people in the entire world, and I know she would be so proud of me, and just to get another chance to hang out with her and chat with her. The funny one, to end on a funny one, the creator of Diet Coke.
Oh my goodness. She has a Diet Coke in front of her.
I would just like to shake their hand.
Okay. That's really good. All right. Well, I think that'll be it for today. But Chelcie, thank you so much for joining us on the Young Adult World podcast.
Thanks for having me.
Hey, thanks for joining us today. I hope this conversation was meaningful to you. Come find us on Instagram. Our profile is Young Adult World Podcast. Tell us what you connected with during our podcast today. This podcast is part of the Young Adult Ministry at the Memorial Road Church of Christ in Edmond, Oklahoma. Come join us sometime. There's plenty of room for everyone. If you want to reach out to us, don't hesitate to email us at youngadultworldpodcast@gmail.com. And we are so grateful for Jacob Staten. Jacob is a young adult who edits this podcast for us and keeps this thing going. So thanks, Jacob. Okay, guys, see you next time for another Young Adult World conversation.